The reason that so many small business owners fail to thrive is because so few people are willing to do what it takes to become excellent in scaling your business. Hey there, CEOs. You're listening to the Wedding Pro CEO podcast, and I'm your host, Brandy Gar. This is the podcast that will help you grow and scale your profitable wedding business, and I cannot wait to dig into today's episode with you, where we are going to talk about the 5 strategies that will help you become better than 99% of all other wedding pros. You ready to dig in with me? Let's go. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk about is how simple it really is to stand out from the crowd. And the reason for this is because there are so few people who will actually do the work to stand out. They say they're going to do the work. They want to have a profitable business. They want to have a business that grows. But when push comes to shove, they're not willing to actually do the work and put in the time to do what it takes to become part of that 1% that is flourishing in this industry right now. So I'm going to talk about the 5 strategies that I work through with my students. And listen, I'm a tough love coach. I love to be your biggest cheerleader, as you can probably hear in most of the episodes here on the podcast. I'm your biggest cheerleader, but I'm also the one who's going to kick you in the booty a little bit and tell you to stop making excuses, stop letting the outside forces control whether you're going to succeed or not in your business. And so these are the things that I work through with my students inside all of our programs. I want to help you to excel at your business, and to do that, sometimes that comes with a little bit of tough love. So forgive me if this episode has a little bit more of that tough love side of me as your business coach than I typically have in our episodes, but I think that it's so important because I don't want to be the one who's just always out here saying, yeah, go, you're killing it, you're killing it. I want to also be able to say, hey, time to have a gut check moment. It's time to step it up in your business, right? So the first one that I want to talk about is that I want to acknowledge that this economy stinks. I know you might be thinking, okay, Brandy, how does acknowledging that the economy stinks actually become a strategy to help me scale? And the reason I wanted to start with this one is because I've actually been kind of making a really big stink about this online. A lot of my social media has been surrounding the fact that so many wedding pros are blaming the economy on the reason that their business isn't thriving right now. And I am of the mindset that we need to acknowledge what is going on in our economy. I'm going to break that down a little bit for us, but then we need to adapt to that, right? So we don't want to just deny that the economy isn't a challenge. It is a challenge, but there's not been a single year that I've been in business since 2017 where I haven't had to adapt my business to the economy, whether the economy is booming or it's an election year or we're in a recession. There's so many things that happen that's an outside force that you're never going to be able to control. So as a business owner, acknowledging that the economy plays a massive role in your business and then adapting how you're going to market and sell to that economy is part of this strategy to make you better than the 99%. I have to tell you guys, if you go on Threads, I promise you, you can find 10 different posts from different wedding pros who are on there complaining or, saying, I don't know what I'm going to do about my business because the economy sucks, or is anybody else seeing a 40% decrease in their weddings across the board? And I'm always the one that's over there like, no, my students are not seeing that, and I'm not seeing that either. And the reason for that is because we aren't sitting on our hands. My students are not sitting on their hands and saying, well, I guess we'll hope that 2025 is a better year. You don't hope that your business is going to get stronger. You have to do something about it. So in this economy right now, everything has an inflated price. That's not just the wedding industry. That is literally globally across the board. Every industry is being affected by this. And so all businesses, all business owners have to put on their business owner hat and they have to learn to adapt. So how are we adapting to that, right? So we've got higher costs, we've got inflation, we've got lower discretionary income, right? So not as many people are eating out, not as many people are going on vacations, not as many people are traveling. People might be having smaller weddings, right? But they're still getting married. That's the thing. They're still getting married. Our engagement numbers aren't down for the year. So people are still getting engaged. They're still getting married. They just may be having a smaller wedding. They may be focused on how they can save money during their wedding. So again, we're going to adapt to that as well. And then we also have Gen Z coming into the marketplace. This is huge because we've talked about millennials being our generation that we're selling to for a decade now. And now finally we have this new generation coming in, and they buy so differently. They think so differently. And there's so many traditions that they're just throwing out the window completely, which is actually playing into our favor, because a lot of the things that they're throwing out the window are the over the top weddings. They're throwing out some of the more opulent, like ridiculous things. They're throwing out tradition, a lot of tradition they're throwing out, like having bridal parties. I'm in love with this trend, right? Like not having a bridal party is like a wedding pro's dream. There's so much less drama, so many less people to coordinate, but that also means that they're spending less. They don't have to have bouquets for all those people, boutonnieres for all those people. They don't have to worry about travel and all the things that go along with having this large bridal party, right? So they're already scaling back some just by simply doing things differently. And so how are we adapting to the economy that's in front of us, right? That is such a big deal. So strategy number one is to acknowledge that the economy plays a role in our businesses, but to understand that it's our job as business owners to adapt to it, not to just sit back and let it happen to us. Okay, number two is that all wedding pros who are winning, the 1% of wedding pros who are thriving and scaling, that are the best. And if you're listening to this and you're like, yes, Brandy, tell me how to be part of the 1%. Tell me how to be the best of the best in my market. Then I want you to listen to this one. Number two is to make all decisions based on facts and not fear. And I wanted to follow this one with the whole economy speak right away, because so many of us are fearful right now of what's going to happen, what's happening in the wedding industry. Are we being affected by a downturn in the market, right? And so fear is really setting in. And as you start to become more fearful in your business, it actually holds you back from doing the things that you need to do to grow your business. So for instance, when I'm over on Threads interacting, if you guys can't tell, I'm obsessed with Threads because I think it is like the best place to be engaging right now. But when I'm over on Threads interacting and I see wedding pros that are saying, you know, my sales are down 40%, or I haven't booked a wedding in 3 months, the question I always ask is, how's your marketing strategy? What are you doing to bring more leads into your funnel? And 100% of the time, 100% of the time, the answer I get back is, it could be better, or it's non-existent, or I don't get leads from social media, so I just don't bother. And I'm like, then what do you expect to happen? When that fear sets in, we start to make decisions based on that fear. So we start to think, well, nobody is doing very much business right now, right? Like nobody is winning in this economy right now. So you just kind of like sit back and don't do anything. And I'm like, no, this is literally the opposite of what you should be doing. So how can you make those decisions based on fact? Well, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go through all of the leads that you've gotten so far this year, right? So we're about 7 months into the year, the time of this recording, and you should have a really good idea of how many leads that you've taken in. So I want you to go back through, if you don't already have this data, I want you to go back through every single lead that you've gotten for this year. And I want you to see how many leads that you get every single month. Then I want you to look and I want you to see how many of those leads are going to consultation, right? And then of those consultations, how many are you booking? This is so important, because this is really going to help us to drive that data. Is it that we need more leads? Or is it that we need to be better at our conversion? Maybe you're getting 10 leads a month, but you're only converting 0 or 1. That's not a great conversion rate. We need to then work on how you're selling and how you're converting, right? So we really need to focus on your sales funnel. But maybe you're only getting 1 or 2 leads per month, which isn't nearly enough to book your quota. And so you're like, no, I do need to get more leads. And that's when we want to focus on that marketing. And from there, we want to focus on, okay, what is it that brings leads into our business? Do we need to have better relationships in our local marketplace? Do we need to go start networking with vendors or venues in our marketplace? Do we need to get on social media, which I think that's a yes every single day. Do we need to get on social media and start posting more? How are we doing on engaging? Are we going on to other vendors' posts and engaging with people that we want to work with? I just recently had a bride, a 2025 bride, comment on one of my TikToks and say that she found 80% of her vendors because she found them interacting on her venue's Instagram page. So she would just watch and see who interacted over on that page. And that's how she found 80% of her vendors. And I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about, right? So if your sales are down right now, I really want you to take it back to the data. I want you to look at it and I want you to say, where do I need to focus my efforts every single day so that I can make sure that I am driving leads into my business? And if I'm already driving a decent amount of leads into my business, am I converting those, or do I need to really focus on how to do a better conversion, how to do better follow-up? What's falling off in the middle, right? And this is what I work with all of my students on inside of our programs, is really looking at the data, because the data tells us all the answers. It doesn't lie. It's non-emotional. So in such an emotional industry and in just an emotional time with the economy being so crazy and so much going on in the world, we really need to take it back to the facts, and we need to make all of the decisions in our business based on that data. And that is going to help you stand out from the crowd, because instead of driving your business through fear, you're going to be driving your business through facts, which I promise you will help you to win every single time. Okay, so number 3, we're on strategy number 3 to help you be better than 99% of all the other wedding pros in our industry. And this one, y'all, I want you to tune in closely, okay? Because this one is so simple, but I see so few wedding pros actually doing it. And this is to surround yourself with other business owners who believe what you want to achieve is possible and who are already doing it. And this sounds so silly. You're like, Brandy, duh, right? But I want you to really look at your circle. One, do you have a circle, right? Because I know that there's so many wedding pros who are like, I'm lonely in this industry. Like, it feels lonely. There's, community over competition, but not actually in my market. I know there's a lot of markets that are like that. I'm very fortunate to have a market that is very community driven, but there are markets where you're kind of lonely, right? And so you're just out there by yourself. I would encourage you to get into a group of wedding pros, business owners who are already doing what you want to be able to do. Okay, because they're going to show you that it's possible. So instead of every day being surrounded with other wedding pros who are like, yeah, the economy sucks. Yeah, we're never going to get any leads this month. And you guys, trust me, there are wedding pros that are saying this every single day on Threads and Instagram. I personally don't want to be surrounded by business owners who are telling me that are believing that it's not possible, because what I'm seeing with my own business and with all of my students and the people that I'm interacting with is that they are having their best year that they've ever had. And the reason for that is because, one, they have the strategies and the tools to do it, but then 2, because they're surrounded by people who are already doing at or better than the level they want to do. And so it's driving them. They're like, I see that it's possible and I want to do it. That's why when people come into my program, I love that we have so many testimonials. Every single month, I have all of our pros say what their wins are from that month, so that newer pros who are coming into the program can see, like, oh my gosh, like, how are you having your best month ever in July of 2024? Like, record-breaking month, right? And so I want people to be able to see that. So what I would tell you, CEO, listening to this, is make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people who are showing you the possibilities instead of the people who are dragging you down and telling you the doom and gloom. Because there's both to be had. And me personally, I can tell you right now, I want somebody who throws the carrot just a little bit further so I can run to chase it. Like, I constantly pushing myself by someone else being a couple steps in front of me. I want to beat them. I want to get to them, right? And so that's so important in the psychology of all of this. How do you get better than 99% of other wedding pros? Shutting out the 99% who are telling you it's not possible and joining the 1% who are telling you, let's go, right? Number 4 is to be relentless. And you guys, I'm not telling you work from sun up to sundown. That is not what I want you to hear in this number 4 strategy, okay? I'm not telling you, like, get on social media 600 hours a day, hustle yourself to death. I'm not telling you that, okay? That is not what I want you to hear. But what I do want you to hear is that it takes work to be better than everyone else in the industry. And what that looks like for me, I'll give you an example for myself, is that I get up at 6 a.m. There's lots of people who get up way earlier than that, but for me, that feels really good. Like I can get enough sleep and the sun is up and I'm not like, oh, dragging myself out of bed, right? So I get up at 6 a.m., do my shower, do some reading, and then I have a list of tasks that has to be done to market my business before my day ever starts. So my day with clients, client work, staff, all that kind of stuff typically starts around 10 a.m. And so by the time I take a shower and all that kind of stuff, get ready, I have about 2.5 to 3 hours to focus on the things that move the needle in my business. Now, I could easily get up later. I could easily start client work first thing in the morning. But I know that as a business owner, if I am not laser focused, my best hours focused on sales and marketing of my business, that always gets left to the end. And this, CEO, is how we end up working at 2 a.m. on timelines or answering leads at 2 o'clock in the morning. It gets pushed off, right? It gets pushed off and it gets pushed off. And then all of a sudden, when I ask you, hey, how are leads going? How are sales going? And you're like, well, I haven't done follow-ups with my sales funnel in 10 days. And I'm like, what? Why? Because I'm so busy with client work. I haven't posted on Instagram in a week because I'm so busy with client work. That's an unacceptable answer for the 1%. The 1% understands that the first priority in your business is sales and marketing. There's nothing in your business that should take a higher priority than sales and marketing your business. So every single day before my day starts, so before client work seeps in, before staff starts messaging me, before even students start messaging me for my coaching brand, I am focused on creating reels. I'm focused on posting to my stories, to engaging with other accounts on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. I am making sure that I'm posting to TikTok, and I'm checking my sales funnel. All of those things happen before a single stitch of client work gets done or a single Slack gets answered in the morning from my staff or from my students. And that's because to be able to be part of the 1%, I know it is my role and responsibility to focus on sales and marketing. And that's what I want you to know about this strategy number 4. When I say be relentless, it doesn't mean work 24 hours a day. It means work very smart and put your best hours of every single day into the things that are going to move your needle forward. I also hear a lot of wedding pros who will say something like, I don't have time to post every day on Instagram. I don't have time to post on TikTok every day. I don't have time to engage on Threads every single day. And my answer to that is then stop complaining that you don't have enough leads. Because if you wanted to, you would. That's the beginning and the end of it. If you wanted to, you would. We make time for things that are a priority in our business. So you can say that scaling your business is a priority, but at the end of the day, you have to put your money where your mouth is. You have to be willing to make the time in your day, to find the time in your day, to make a priority of sales and marketing your business. And when you do that, I promise you, the payoff will be tenfold. But you have to be relentless in the pursuit of scaling your business. Okay, number 5, and this is our last strategy, and it really goes along with number 4, and that's just simply to stop making excuses. Y'all, listen, this is where the really tough love is coming in, and this is where sometimes it can be difficult when I'm working with a student who maybe isn't having the best year or isn't having the best month when they come into the program. And, I walk a really fine line, and I want to make sure that you understand my heart behind everything that I'm saying in this episode, but especially number 5. And it's not to kick you while you're down. It's not to say you suck at what you're doing, but it is to say, in the amount of time it takes you to go on social media and complain that you don't have enough leads, you could be doing something about those leads. In the amount of time it takes you to figure out how bad the economy is or how it's affecting the wedding industry as a whole, you could be researching ideas of how you could stand out from the crowd. You could be editing your profile. You could be engaging on other posts. You could be setting up a coffee date with a venue. You could be touring a venue. You could be setting up a time to meet with a photographer in your area. There are a million things that you can do with your time, and there are so many things within your control. Too often, what we decide to do is to blame all the outside forces and to just sit on our hands and to make an excuse instead. Y'all, if I hear one more wedding pro say, well, I'm just going to chalk this year up to a bad year or that it's an election year. Here's the thing. Every 4 years we have an election in our country, and so far the last 3 elections have been a total crap show. So I don't see it getting any better. Every 4 years we're going to have a year like we have right now where the country is in unrest. We've got crazy candidates. There's so much back and forth, right? That's an outside force you're never going to be able to control. Stop making excuses and instead adapt to it. What can you do differently? What can you do better? Who can you surround yourself with to make sure that you're being pushed to be the best that you've ever been? Because I promise you, in 17 years of doing business, I've been through the Great Recession, I've been through COVID, I've been through really great up years, and I promise you, there are pros and cons to every single one. In 2022, when we had couples knocking down our doors, none of us could keep enough team members staffed, right? Like, that was the problem then, is we couldn't get back to people fast enough, we couldn't write contracts fast enough, we couldn't get enough team members staffed. Now we're complaining because the economy is the opposite direction. There's never going to be a time where you've got a perfect scenario. So you as the business owner need to stop making excuses and figure out how you're going to adapt to it every single year. Okay, you guys, I hope that you loved this episode. And if this episode was a little bit triggering to you, if it was a little bit of a gut punch moment and you were like, yeah, I think I am doing that, but I don't want to do that anymore. You guys, that's exactly what this episode is for. It's never, ever to shame you. I never want you to leave one of my episodes and feel shame. I want you to feel that gut punch to say, I want to be better. I know that I can be like the best in my marketplace, and that's what I want from you. I want to push you to be the absolute best that you are. I would love for you to DM me and chat a little bit more about how I can help you take your business to the next level. Engagement season is coming so fast, you guys. It'll be here before you know it. And we're working with all of our pros inside of our programs to really make sure that all of your marketing, all of your sales, all of your packages have been checked for profitability. Because when we go into this November and we go into this engagement season, we are going into battle. And I want all of the wedding pros that I'm working with to be ready. So if you're interested in learning more about the accelerator, about our inner circle, about how I help wedding pros 2 and 3 times their revenue in less than a year, then I would love to chat with you. So come over to my DMs. I'm at Brandy Gar over on Instagram. Drop me a DM and let's chat about whether our programs are the right fit for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And hey, YouTube thinks that you might like this video next. So make sure you click the video on the screen and I'll see you there.